Today, we're going to talk about surviving change. I got my start in the construction industry back in 2007. I was an intern for an architecture firm, and I worked part-time, mostly handling prints and running drawing sets from the office to various job sites. You want a coffee? I get you coffee. I was the office grunt, and I was just happy to be there learning about this exciting new world. Well, one day, I got a call from my boss, Chuck, and I'll never forget this call. He says to me, Anthony, I'm sorry to tell you this, but there's no more work for us. Our last major customer, a home builder, was icing our project, and it meant that there's no more work coming in. This was 2008, and the Great Recession was just kicking off. And unfortunately, Chuck ended up shuttering his business, and he had to lay us all off. The good times were over. I think most everybody has a story or a tough experience during the Great Recession. It was a time that really crushed our industry. Now, it can be scary to stare into the abyss and acknowledge the fragility of our enterprises and our jobs that are tied to them. But the reality is that the construction industry has one of the highest bankruptcy rates in the world. It's an industry that's deeply competitive, and there's high stakes, and there are high rewards. According to recent numbers published by the Building Information Industry Association, we had 23% more bankruptcies in 2022 over 2021. Building construction companies experienced a 48.6% increase in bankruptcies. And we saw this in a variety of relatively high-profile cases last year. We saw EYP get acquired by Page for this very reason. Building management also experienced a 44.9% increase in bankruptcies. And the real estate sector in general experienced a 42.8% increase. So we are one of the highest rates of bankruptcies of any industry in the world, and our rates are going up. We know that the economic climate right now is somewhat tenuous with inflation and rising interest rates. There's also some really weird stuff yet to play out with commercial office space valuations and demand. But the bottom line is that there are many ways to fail and many ways to die as a company right now. And we believe at Applied Software that this is where the digital innovation framework can help. We are in an era of continuous disruption from external forces, economic headwinds, new technologies. And the companies that can navigate these forces, proactively adopting their business models and workflows, are going to be the companies that survive and thrive in this era of continuous disruption. And on that note, I'd like to take a quick detour and look at some of the amazing stuff coming out in this age of AI for the AEC industry. I think most of us have heard of ChatGPT by now. This has really been a phenomenon. A lot of people have done a lot of really cool things with this, but in essence, we're able to provide text-based prompts to this AI, and it's able to give us some very substantial answers back to our prompts. It's not perfect, but we can see the substantial leap in capabilities that ChatGPT represents in the AI function. We also have Midjourney and other image-based AIs. The Midjourney bot is able to take, again, text-based prompts and generate novel imagery that is, in some cases, shockingly provocative and beautiful. So, understanding that we can provide this kind of information and generate this kind of contextual imagery kind of gives pause to what does it mean for our industry. And we're seeing that the AI revolution is also making its way here into the AEC industry with AEC specific tools purpose built for us to do things. This is the Hypar AI. Hypar is a startup that has built some very interesting tools that allow us to generate entire building structures with programmatic elements instantaneously. And we can see with their latest AI tool that they're building, you're able to give a text-based prompt giving general dimensions. And with these prompts, Hypar is able to actually generate the building structures. It's interesting to see it play out because ultimately we're still in early days, but the rate of progress that's happening is astounding. TestFit is another company that's been making waves. They've been out for a couple of years now. They're less AI focused and more generative design, using rule-based algorithms to generate buildings, parking structures, um, and other kind of development proposals. But again, we can see the speed and the pace and the scale that we're able to move and solve design problems in a hurry. And then I guess a couple of months ago, Evolve Lab, based out of Boulder in Colorado, came out with their Ferris tool. And this is an AI based rendering engine where we can give text based prompts that generate novel renderings out of Revit. And we can see how quickly and easily and creatively we can generate visualizations using this tool. And again, this is another example of innovation happening in a hurry and is quickly changing the way we work. At Applied Software, we make strategic investments in startups, startups like Evolve MEP, that we see as potential disruptors in the AEC space. We see a ton of new startups entering the arena right now. And some of these startups have big, bold ideas for our industry. And they have the wherewithal to make change start to happen. Another point that I think is worth emphasizing is that the rate of change, the rate of technology adoption is accelerating. We are collectively quicker than ever to adopt new technologies as they hit the market. And we can see this actually play out very specifically with ChatGPT. When ChatGPT released in the fall, it took 5 days for it to acquire 1 million users. And the scale of that is breathtaking. It shows that collectively we are able to recognize opportunities and take advantage of them and implement them faster than ever. Not just able, but willing. We are willing to do these things. Now, with all of this disruption and all of this innovation that's kind of shaking our industry, I think it's important to take a step back and ask, how can we ensure that our company and our jobs are resilient and can endure and thrive in this era of disruption? The digital innovation framework is just a planning methodology. It's not some special product, it's not some special tool, but this is a strategic framework that we use at Applied Software to help us make decisions. It helps us plan. And what I want to do today is I want to kind of talk through how we use the digital innovation framework, and you may want to try using this for yourself. The digital innovation framework is comprised of three major components. There's a business strategy analysis component where we're focused on your business goals and kind of your competitive positioning in the market. How do you differentiate? How do you set yourself apart from your competition? How do you win more work? How do you ensure that you get repeat business? The operational analysis is more focused on the functional aspects of your operation, your workflows. How effective are you at collaborating together? What roadblocks do you have to generating good design or good project work? How do you achieve higher productivity? And then the last thing we have is the strategic roadmap. And the strategic roadmap is really the consolidation and the synthesis of this business strategy analysis with the operational analysis. The idea is that we want to be able to develop a vision that we collectively as a company, as a team, are aligned on. We agree this is how we are going to get to where we need to go. In general, when we talk about business strategy planning, it is something that is a bit of a negotiation and a lot of introspection. We're really needing to evaluate the market and understand who we are and how we win. This is just a high-level look of what the digital innovation framework can look like, at least internally, when we execute one of these. But more specifically, I want to get into what that business strategy component looks like. And typically, we use a lean canvas. And this is something that was developed by Christopher Riddell, our Director of Innovation. And the idea is that we need to be able to source new ideas for our company and then develop and prioritize them. And then ultimately implement them and integrate them into our company. And I think this is really important to also emphasize at this moment that being able to integrate and adopt new ideas, new technologies, is a continuous process. We see with the rate of innovation happening, with the startups that are hitting the scene with very novel and powerful tools and software solutions, we cannot remain static. The way we worked a year ago, 5 years ago, cannot be the same as what we are doing today. So being able to source new ideas and evaluate them using this lean canvas is essential for your business strategy analysis. So what we want to do is we want to really think first, what are the problems that we're trying to solve? And then ultimately, how are we solving those problems today? How are our competitors solving these problems today? If you're an architecture firm, how are you generating this design proposal as opposed to your competition? What tools are out there and what tools currently solve this problem? What workflows support that? This doesn't have to be super detailed, but it's more of an outline of what a solution would look like. The next thing that we want to think about is, as a company, what's our unique value proposition? What makes us different from you? When we think about this for applied software, we ask ourselves, how are we different than our competition? And how do we create value for you as our customers? Typically, when we think about this unique value proposition, it needs to be very clear, concise, and succinct. It needs to state plainly what we are doing. We also want to have kind of this high-level strategy. What does it mean for us to do this thing? Another component of this is we want to be thinking about the unfair advantages that this might confer upon us. And an unfair advantage is something that cannot be easily bought or copied. We can think about this in the example of like TikTok, which is said to have a sophisticated sorting algorithm, something that we could not easily recreate. We also need to be thinking about our customer segments. Who are we serving? Who is our target customer? How big are they? Are they a university? Are they a general contractor? Are they a hospital system? And we want to think about who the end user is. How are the buildings that we design going to be used? How do we make that user experience unique or defining as part of our brand? We also need to identify when we think about innovation and adoption of new tools, who are the early adopters? And this could be an internal thing, right? I think a lot of people listening in are BIM managers, VDC managers, design technology specialists. Your early adopters might be the project architect or a young intern that you know is enthusiastic about technology. But think about who those people are and understand what you need to do to activate them and get them on your side. By that same token, we want to think about how do we distribute this? How do we get our idea, our workflow, our roadmap, our innovation out to our company, to our customers, and internally? And then we also need to think about risk. What risks are associated with pursuing this solution? If I'm going to go and invest in test fit, what are the downsides? Well, it could cost money. It could be not adopted. People might not use it. There might not be enough opportunities to use it. So evaluate those risks and try to understand with a risk benefit analysis, what does it mean if we do or do not pursue? Also consider the cost of not pursuing innovation. Are you going to be made irrelevant? It's also important to keep in mind that there are a lot of assumptions that we have to make. We don't necessarily know this is the right answer, this is the wrong answer. We don't necessarily know everything about a tool. We have to make a lot of assumptions, and it's good to call out that we know this is an assumption, not a fact. Ultimately, we also need to think about what does it cost to adopt this tool, this roadmap, this solution, this workflow. What is it going to cost us to develop or create or implement this thing? And is there an ROI that becomes clear from pursuing this thing? How will it generate revenue for you? Is it going to generate revenue by making you more efficient? Is it going to generate revenue by helping you get more customers? Can you do more work? Pursue more projects? Think about these things in very specific context. And with all of this, we need to be able to measure what success looks like. So identify those key metrics. What are the key numbers that tell you how your business is doing, how your roadmap is impacting the company or the teams? So typically, when we look at all of this, we use something like this. It's a fairly high level, and the idea is just to textually list out these things. Run through. What's the problem? What are the alternatives today? What's our idea for solving the problem? And being able to run through each of these things that we've covered can give you a framework that helps you understand your business strategy. And as we begin to evaluate our strategic focus and our operational capabilities, we begin to really want to hone in on what is ultimately important. How do we differentiate? How do we set each specific item in the roadmap and prioritize them? We only have so many resources at our disposal. You have a budget. Maybe you don't have a budget. Maybe you're going with $0. How do you impact innovation and improve workflows? Recognizing the limited nature of resources, you need to be able to identify what is most important and what does it take to accomplish this. So typically what we do is after we have this lean canvas, we will take the core ideas and patterns that come out of that and begin to really try to map these things out. What are the inefficiencies in our current operation? What are our weak spots? What do we think can address them best? If we think that it's taking us too long to generate quick renderings, maybe Veris is the tool to use. But what is the priority for paying for an application like that? Is this a huge problem, or is it something that's just a minor problem? Being able to prioritize is the key to being able to set your roadmap. And ultimately, this is what we are working towards with the digital innovation framework. We are working towards an idea of where we want to be. Recognizing that the amount of disruption, the amount of innovation, and the amount of new tools and technology coming out will cause this roadmap to need to be flexible and agile. We still need to identify what our current state is and where we want to be, the top of the mountain. And then, once we have these things, we need to figure out the steps to get from point A to point B. And these steps, again, are partially set by the prioritization exercise, being able to say, this is what's important, and this is what we need to focus on. So that means that might be step one, is focus on this thing, get this in place before we do this other thing. I want to just emphasize that as we think about these bigger picture trends, these increasing rates of bankruptcy and insolvency in companies, and we see this just escalating cycle of technology coming in, increasing automation, increasing our design capabilities. We really need to think long and hard about how we are able to position ourselves and our companies to stay at the top of the mountain. It's easy to fall down, and once you start falling, it can be like catching a falling knife. It'd be really hard to stop. I'll close with this comment. I was at the Advancing Computational Building Design Conference a couple of weeks ago. And it was really jarring to see the different rates of innovation and the different rates of competencies in tools and being able to generate, design, and build. And seeing those discrepancies really has me feeling a little worried, because there are a lot of companies that aren't even at this conference that aren't thinking about what it means to be innovative, that aren't thinking about how to ensure their resilience in this changing market. If you've made it this far in this presentation, that means you are thinking about these things. And it might just be you in the company. I don't know. But I hope that you can take away this message. The disruption that's occurring in our industry is not slowing down. It's accelerating. And because of that reality, we all need to be prepared to continuously plan and evaluate and evolve our businesses and our business models for this changing landscape. So to survive, we need to be thinking about these kind of frameworks. We need to be assessing the market and building strategic roadmaps that can help position us to survive and thrive. Thank you.